West Virginia is listening, sell me, pitch me on Teach for America in West Virginia.
Sure. Well, in order to understand Teach for America, you first have to understand the challenge that we seek to address. And that is that students in low-income areas in West Virginia and across the country often get a different quality education than their more affluent peers. And there's a ton of data to back that up, and it's not surprising to anyone that that's the case, given the conversation that's happening around ed reform these days. But what we also see is there are a lot of communities, low-income communities, where kids are getting a great education. And so we know that it's possible to provide every student with the highest quality college or career-ready education that they need to be successful in our economy. And so what Teach for America does to try to bring that about in low-income areas is we partner with districts to channel some of the very best and brightest college grads and young professionals into teaching when they might have otherwise gone into something else. And we get them to make a 2-year commitment, as you just said, to teach. And what we actually see is that for the majority of them, that commitment becomes a lifelong commitment. And many of them stay in education, and almost all of them remain committed to education reform, and providing kids in low-income areas with the type of education they deserve.
Well, right now, if you're going to teach in West Virginia, I believe you need to be certified to teach in West Virginia. There are certification criteria. One of the concerns is why should the Department of Education allow people who haven't gone through that certification process to teach in our public schools?
Yeah, and there are 2 points to that. One is need, and there's a definite need in West Virginia. The reports say that there are about 700 teacher vacancies that go unfilled every year.
Right.
And one of the solutions to that can certainly be alt-cert and getting people who have a background.
Alt-cert, alternative certification.
Yes,
okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
And so getting people who have unique backgrounds and experiences into the classroom, a banker or an accountant, for example, who teaches math, or a chemist who teaches chemistry or science. And so there are lots of ways that we can get teachers into the classroom other than a 4-year traditional program. The other piece to that, though, is effectiveness. And if you look at independent, rigorous studies about Teach for America, you see that our teachers can perform just as well, if not better than, traditionally certified teachers. And so those are the 2 pieces that I think contribute to the conversation around alternative certification.
Will, I'm also hearing, and we're talking with Will Nash, who is with Teach for America, director of the Appalachian Region, and they may be coming to West Virginia. Depends on what happens with education reform. Will, another concern I hear, particularly from the teacher organizations, is that, okay, this alternative certification, it's not the same as being taught in college to be a teacher, number one. And number two is, you may have knowledge in a particular area, but do you know how to run a classroom? Do you know how to handle discipline cases? Do you know how to deal with parents? Do you know how to deal with all these other things that teachers have to deal with on a daily basis?
And that's why our folks go through a whole lot of training before they enter the classroom in August. And Teach for America takes on the responsibility to make sure that people know how to lesson plan, know how to manage a classroom, know how to do the things that you just articulated. The difference, though, between us and a college of education is that a college of education says, who among you wants to be a teacher? Come to us and we will teach you how to teach. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. Teach for America instead has studied what our most successful teachers do, and then we've isolated the skills and the knowledge and the mindsets that we want people coming to the profession with, so that we can start ahead of the curve and fill in the gaps then along the way for some of the areas you mentioned, pedagogy or management or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And so we think that is one of our keys to success, is getting people on the front end who know how to set goals, who know how to overcome challenges, who know how to invest key stakeholders, and then to take that type of person and give them then the classroom skills that they need, those that you mentioned.
Will Nash is with us with Teach for America. Will, as you pointed out, we have somewhere between 600 and 700 classrooms in West Virginia that do not have in front of them teachers certified to teach in that particular discipline. They have a teacher there, but maybe they're teaching math, but they're not certified in math, on and on. How many of those positions could Teach for America fill next year?
Yeah, next year it would be a small number. We're looking at some of the counties in southwestern West Virginia that touch some of the counties in Kentucky that we're already working in. So we're mainly looking at 3 or 4 counties. So on the high end, we might be talking 20 or 25 teachers next year. certainly not a huge dent in the overall number, which is important to highlight that Teach for America doesn't think that we're the silver bullet when it comes to filling all 700 positions. We actually agree with some of what the teacher organizations stand for as far as teacher pay and some of the other elements that they're arguing for. But we also know that leadership is a key aspect to providing kids with a great education. And even if we can only fill 20 or 30 next year, we see that number being able to grow in the future. And we also see the dialogue about what's possible in low-income schools shifting in West Virginia, and that's what really needs to happen.
Let me give you a hypothetical, Will. Let's say we need a physics teacher, because the big deficiencies are typically in math and science and special ed, particularly in very rural areas. Let's say we need a physics teacher in Mingo County. Can you get me a physics teacher in Mingo County?
Chances are very, very good that we can. And there are lots of undergrads and professionals across this country who are raising their hand to teach in rural areas and who want to either stay in West Virginia because they're already there or want to come to West Virginia and be part of the solution there. Each year, we have somewhere between 10 and 25 students from West Virginia who are joining Teach for America and are moving out of the state to teach math or foreign language or whatever it might be because we don't currently operate there. And so this is also a way to reverse some of the brain drain that we see in West Virginia because, they're teaching in Memphis or the Delta or wherever they might be.
Where are you? There's about 10,000 of you now, is that right?
Yeah, 10,000 across the country. We work in about 36 states, I believe.
Mm-hmm. How did it start?
It was in 1989, our founder, a lady named Wendy Kopp, actually wrote her thesis at Princeton about this idea. The fact that she was being recruited to go work on Wall Street, to go join consulting companies, and she grew up in a more affluent area of Dallas, and when she got to Princeton, she saw some of the inequity in her peers around her, the level of education that she had compared to what others had. And when it came time for her to write her senior thesis, she approached her advisor and said, I want to start a domestic-type Peace Corps where people commit initially to work in low-income schools and to channel talent and leadership to those schools where they often don't have it. And her advisor basically told her that she was deranged for thinking that anyone would want to sign up and do this. And today we've got, like you said, 10,000 teachers, almost 30,000 alumni of our program across the country, and folks who are every day working and volunteering to be in some of the toughest situations across the country.